Hello, friends. It's Chapo.
He's talking about there's like a student pub at MIT.
Ugh. May I have a dram of your finest potable, milady?
And like everyone there is like a student or something. Everyone who like works there is a student. And here's what he says. You know, the pub is a cool place. It's like a safe harbor for the LGBT community and students of color and others. The downside is that it's also a safe harbor for MBA students who want to save up for their Greece spring break sailing trips by paying for beer at cost and not tipping. So, the day before graduation, some mysterious suit-clad bodyguard takes over for the student door person. And 30 minutes later, in walks the Bloomberg himself. He orders a round and sits in a corner reading a newspaper and sipping a beer. The folks from the MIT office of the president go table to table telling people to invite their friends because they don't want the pub to be too empty for Bloomberg on a weeknight the day before graduation. Finally, most horrifyingly, in his graduation speech the next day, he says he frequented the pub during networking school, MBA, and got his favorite drink, Miller High Life on the rocks.
What?
Psychopath.
Beer?
Psychopath.
Ice in a beer. Maniac. By the way, what he's not saying is that Miller Lite on ice was in the cap of an acorn. He is a tiny man.
Miller High Life on the rocks. Just a disgusting freak beverage. There is nobody who does that. There's no culture that does that. I used to live in a Polish neighborhood, and I would go to Polish bars, and like Polish guys would drink beer mixed with this like simple syrup, and that was weird. But I had one, and it's like fine. It's like, you know, it's acceptable. It's like I get that as a cultural thing. There's no culture that does Miller High Life on the rocks.
Drinking in a room, pitch black, because no one knows how to change the light bulb.
Sitting alone at the fucking MBA bar at MIT.
They can never get a quorum to change the light bulb. Yeah. By the way, Bloomberg, I'm sorry. We have not elected a manlet for over 100 years. We're not going to start now. Bloomberg would be our shortest president since Madison, I think. Because wait, Bloomberg's like 5'3", right?
He is very short. He's like 5'4", yeah.
Yeah, that's the height that James Madison was, and he is our shortest president. And he left office in the 18 teens. So it would be 200 years since we've had a president that short. Not going to happen, folks.
And he sucked. Fuck that guy.
Madison did suck. Madison, that motherfucker. Oh, dude, hold my fucking earrings. Fucking James. I mean, obviously.
You mean you're going to take the hoops off?
I've been taking the hoops off. Fucking, first of all, wrote the Constitution. Constitution, dog shit. One of the worst documents ever used to create a government. Horrible. Secondly, he is the only president, by the way, I don't know if anyone knows this.
Compromise between the slave-holding states and the mercantile states. This
is a good trivia answer.
Wait, ask me the question.
James Madison, well, it's too late, is the only president to ever personally command an American army in the field during a battle. It was the Battle of Bladensburg during the War of 1812, and he got his ass kicked so badly that the British were able to push his army aside, take over Washington, and eat the meal that had been put on the table in the White House for him to eat before burning it down.
It's not sanitary.
Absolute dog shit. Fuck him. Bitch. Manlet piece of shit. If he is the record of manlet presidents, you should steer clear of Bloomberg.
Okay, so that's a sideshow. Let's get to the actual state of the race. Can we get some kind of guitar riff for the state of the race?
State of the race. We're going to find who's going to win. Skinny bitty boo. Oh, we race to the top. It's down to 4 realistic candidates. Everybody else is jerking off.
In Iowa, where Joe Biden has led for months, it's now a 4-way race between Biden, Sanders, Warren, and now Buttigieg.
That's it.
Who has surged to a narrow lead in multiple surveys. Warren, who was briefly leading in Iowa and nationally last month, has gone down. Interestingly, the Buttigieg surge so far mostly limited to Iowa, where he's polling anywhere between 20 and 25%, and New Hampshire, where he's averaging about 20% in surveys. Nationally, Biden is still firmly in the lead. Buttigieg is barely out of the single digits, though that may change.
Well, it's not going to change because Buttigieg has no buy-in with anyone who is not a advanced degree white person.
So the two big stories right now is Mayor Pete going up, Elizabeth Warren surge over.
And it's funny, but the Warren's downtick is kind of uncannily traceable to the moment when she decided to hedge and straddle on Medicare for all.
It was
weird.
not good. It did not look good.
It's weird.
And it's
weird.
just interesting. The same thing happened to Kamala Harris at the very beginning of the race.
It's odd.
So you have a lesson right there. You could have just not done that.
Yeah, it's funny because I'm seeing people now saying like, Warren, yeah, she got Medicare for All did her in. I guess people don't really like Medicare for All. Or they're saying, I guess the purists got a hold of her. The record is pretty clear. Bernie has been ride or die for Medicare for All, and his numbers haven't gone anywhere. If anything, they've gone up a little bit. Warren, because the thing is, you got to remember this. Sanders has the strongest base of support, and as we've noted since the beginning, the highest ceiling of support among anybody running. And that means that there isn't really that far for him to go down. But he also has not stultified. He stultified for a bit there, but he's been steadily creeping up in the last couple of weeks. Warren, on the other hand, goes down the moment that she starts equivocating on Medicare for All, because at that point, people look at her and go, oh, you're who I thought you were. And I either go to Bernie or they go to Mayor Pete if they never really gave a shit.
It's interesting because Warren has absorbed the attacks from her right flank, from Biden and Buttigieg and so on, who are like, you want to get rid of people's healthcare choices. You want to eliminate private insurance, and so she faltered under that pressure. It's oh no. This is it's going to be options and subsidies and so on.
Stage it out.
When it's like at that point, okay, there's really no daylight between you and whatever Mayor Pete says. That's like, oh, this is Medicare plus pro advantage.
Yep. So why not go with Mayor Pete? Why not go with the hot hand? That's the thing. And Mayor Pete has risen to the degree that Warren has failed, which really does tell you that a big chunk of Warren's support was always these awful, I hate to use the word because people get triggered, but PMC white libs. And that as soon as her stock looked like it was wavering, as soon as she started to blink, they were like, well, let's go to somebody who at least has a consistent message in the form of Mayor Pete. I saw one poll that saw Mayor Pete having gone up to the exact degree that Warren had gone down.
Right, and that's that exposes the major fault line in the race, because Warren is still somebody who can be guilted by the Washington establishment, who the various consultants and lobbyists and so on, who say, when people hear you want to eliminate private insurance, get rid of their healthcare choices, they're not going to like that. That doesn't poll well. It's not good in focus groups.
Yeah. And there's a new poll saying that support overall for Medicare for All has dropped significantly recently, because you have a full court press from the Democratic establishment, the healthcare industry itself, saying this is bad. And that's what made Warren blink. But, Bernie's out there saying, just wait.
No,
don't get rattled by this shit, because if you allow these the vagaries of public opinion to determine what you believe, you will end up just being turned into a whiff of smoke. You will be evanescent. You will have there will be nothing to you.
And he's been upfront since the beginning about the monumental challenge of decommodifying healthcare, about eliminating that profit stream for private capital, of getting rid of private health insurance companies, which are parasites.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, hey, on this fucking debate stage, you're about to see a fucking commercial from the healthcare industry. They make billions in profits. They're going to spend a lot of them to defend the fact that they make billions in profits. Those are the stakes. Are you going to fight them, or are you going to compromise with them? And I think the past few months have shown he's literally the only candidate who will not compromise with private capital.
It's true. And that makes a difference, because I think, honestly, what made Warren blink even more than the question of, oh, you're going to throw people off their insurance or get rid of their choices, was the question of paying for it. Because before she released her dumb 2-stage plan, that really, honestly, if you have any skin in the game and any real investment in transforming healthcare in this country, that should have put her forever on the pain of mind list. But before she did that,
healthcare is like an Atlas rocket. There needs to be multiple stages, so it can leave the Earth's gravitational pull. This is all very scientific.
But it's literally the opposite of that. Once the one rocket is drawn, you're falling immediately to Earth because your political capital has been expelled. But whatever. The real thing that I think she couldn't deal with was the question of paying for it, because she could not bring herself to say we might raise the taxes of regular Americans at all. And the fact is to fund something as expansive as the national healthcare system, there would have to be a broad-based tax raise. But it will be vastly less than the amount of money you will save by not having to pay for copays and deductibles and all the awful charges incumbent in a private health insurance system. And she was just, I don't know if it's just because her heart pumps Kool-Aid or because she had a bunch of consultants around her insisting that Americans hate tax raises, but she could not bring herself to make the argument. Meanwhile, Bernie has said explicitly many times, yeah, your taxes might go up a little bit, but you will never have to pay for another dime out of pocket for healthcare. Imagine the savings. And the fact is that if you are not willing to make that argument, if you're not willing to fight on those terms, then you are worthless, because every question involved in decommodifying elements of American life and reducing the rapacious power of this late capitalist Leviathan will involve a fucking trade-off. And if you are stuck in that DNC Clinton era triangulating mindset that says, no, we have to only ever argue that good things are going to happen, and we can never say there's ever going to be a trade-off for anything. Well, what does that leave you arguing? It leaves you arguing in favor of nothing oatmeal bullshit. It means-tested garbage that will help basically nobody, but the advantage of which is, well, at least you never promised to raise anybody's taxes.
You're always going to have a $1 billion stream going into the hands of private capital, where the profits emerge from human misery.
Yes.
And we know that capital acts autonomously. That stream is going to defend itself unless you identify that as the enemy and you target it and you say, no, this is what the whole movement is fighting that, is getting private profit out of the healthcare industry.
Which is why I cannot abide anybody who argues in favor of Warren on tactical grounds. Because, I mean, I could argue about how tactically she doesn't know what she's talking about anyway. Like, for example, when it comes to how do you pass something like Medicare for all.
This is interesting. She bought the filibuster.
And the thing is that she says, I'm going to get rid of the filibuster. Really? You and who? You have no control over the filibuster. The filibuster is a Senate rule. And senators are never going to give up the power that they have. And the power they have is manifested in their ability to either stop or allow legislation to go through. And the higher the threshold to pass something, the more leverage they have. You have no leverage to make them change their fucking rules. Meanwhile, Bernie has said, fuck the filibuster. You can get anything through the Senate if the presiding officer of the Senate rules that it is budgetary, it relates to the budget.
If the parliamentarian rules, but you pick the parliamentarian.
Exactly.
You can fire the parliamentarian. Republicans
the VP
did it.
Does.
Republicans did it.
The VP does. And you say, I'm going to have my VP tell the parliamentarian that it's 50 votes. Done. And you don't have to go after the individual power prerogative of individual senators you're never going to be able to get the leverage on any individual senator to get them to give up that power. And the fact that she has gone along with this filibuster bullshit means even on that narrow tactical shit, she doesn't know what she's fucking talking about. But forget all of that. If you're talking about confronting the political influence of the most awful and rapacious industries in this country, the only way you're going to defeat it is with a power strategy that involves